All right, so moving right along here in the John David Ebert School for the Study of Culture, Cosmology, and the Arts, we are moving on into our next class here, which will be on mythology and the movies. And this will take place on Saturday, March 18th at 2 p.m. MST. And will continue for 7 Saturdays thereafter until April 29th. So what we'll do is we'll go through this. It's 8 classes. So there'll be an introductory class followed by 7 classes, and I've chosen these 7 films to look at: 2001: A Space Odyssey, Star Wars: Apocalypse Now, The Shining, Alien, Blade Runner, and Videodrome. Mainly because I've written books about every one of these films, and so these will be the required texts for the course, my scene-by-scene books. And so here's the curriculum. So I've just lined them up this way in chronological order, starting in 1968 with 2001, in 77 with Star Wars, 79 for Apocalypse Now, 80 for The Shining, 79 for Alien, 82 for Blade Runner. Videodrome was supposed to be released in 82, but I think it didn't come out until January of 83. Right, so we'll go through these and we'll read them through the epistemological lenses of my series here. Star Wars Scene by Scene is the second one in this series that I wrote. The first one I wrote was actually Apocalypse Now Scene by Scene, which remains my favorite, but then I'm biased because Apocalypse Now is my favorite film of all time. So I started with this, and I originally conceived this series as a kind of DVD commentary, but by then DVDs were pretty much dead. But kind of like a DVD commentary, scene by scene, where in the best DVD commentaries, when they were up and running, were ones where the film critic or the director had something interesting to say about every single scene. The bad ones were the ones where the directors or the critics just couldn't they couldn't comment on each scene. So the whole point of the book is you recount the scene and then you comment on it. So you have to be able to have something. The film has to be semiotically rich enough that you can go in and do that and analyze each one of the scenes and pull something of significance out that might not be readily apparent on a first or a second viewing. I've probably seen Apocalypse Now probably 40 times, 45 times maybe, something like that, ever since it first came out when I was 11 years old. And it blew me away, as Star Wars did earlier when I was 8. But we'll start with this. Technically, we're going to start with 2001: A Space Odyssey, but the text for that, the scene by scene for that, I've only gotten half finished on it. So I may append the manuscript for it so far, and we can begin with 2001 with that manuscript. It's about halfway done, but we might start with that. But the others, all 6 of the others have these books, and they're all available on Amazon. Star Wars Scene by Scene, and the cover art was done, with the exception of the first one, Apocalypse Now here, which is done by a 19th century artist. The other 5, the covers are all done by Lawrence Philip Pierce. So he volunteered the cover art for each of these, so I didn't have to worry about using copyrighted images. So Star Wars, and then we'll do Apocalypse Now Scene by Scene. After 2001, Star Wars, Apocalypse Now, and then we'll go through The Shining Scene by Scene, which is one of my all-time favorite films and probably my favorite horror film of all time. I think it's an absolute masterpiece. People who don't like it simply don't understand it. That's often the case. People deride what they don't understand. That's normal. And then we'll move on to Alien, Scene by Scene, and then to Blade Runner. And I realized that The Shining is 1980 and Alien is 79, but I want to keep Alien and Blade Runner together. They're both done by Ridley Scott, and they're both Ridley Scott's 2 best films, so I sort of want to keep them together. And then come to David Cronenberg's best film, in my opinion, Videodrome, which is his study of the ideas of Marshall McLuhan, but there is a lot of Gnostic mythology in Videodrome as well, just as there is in the contemporary novels of William Gibson at that period, like Neuromancer and Count Zero, have quite a lot of Gnostic mythology in them. So we'll look at the mythic structures in each one of these. I started my career studying both mythology and film. My second book, Celluloid Heroes and Mechanical Dragons, was an analysis of mythology and its relationship to cinema. I'm not making that book required reading here because it's out of print and expensive and difficult to find. So until I'll put that out at a future date, I'll reprint it and put it out. That was my first work on film, and I have written about film in quite a few other places as well. I did have a website for a while called cinemadiscourse.com, but I haven't used that website in quite a while. All right, so that's the course. Come with us. It'll be 8 Saturdays, March 18th, 2 p.m. Saturday afternoon, 2 to 4. The discussions are 2 hours, and each of the classes comes with a pre-recorded lecture on that film, and I'll discuss the film on the pre-recorded lecture, and then we'll meet. Presumably the students will have read the appropriate scene-by-scene book, and then we'll discuss both and just go through and have a really great time. So I look forward to this class a lot. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I do also still do private astrology readings. For those of you interested in that, hit me up. I'm at johndavidebert@gmail.com. And I also do private tutoring as well. All right, I'll leave it there for this promo, and hope to see you in class.